Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all.
It's Ramadan, now I got a plan before it's come and gone. Getting close to Allah, spend a lot of time. See the condition of my heart like a sonogram. Everybody knows we got to fast, but does everybody know how the time is passed? Is it sleeping all day and the night's a blast? And forgetting the reward in the month is past. I know you gonna wake up right, drinking water, maybe being pie, praying at sunrise, fasting the day.
Well, yes, it is Ramadan indeed.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Miran and Tasnim on the mic with the YFactor's Ramadan special, airing for a shorter period every Thursday between Maghreb and Ishaa. Won't be repeating on Sundays inshallah, but same email, same Facebook page and same routine, except that, inshallah we're going to have more of a Ramadan focus to all of our episodes.
Speaking of Ramadan focus, this week inshallah it is the first week of Ramadan, so what we thought we might have is a religious figure we're speaking to about some of the commonly asked questions in Ramadan and some Ramadan tips.
And we're also going to be speaking to an Australian expat currently living in the United Arab Emirates about Ramadan in a Muslim country and how much that's different or perhaps similar to Ramadan right here in Sydney.
And to conclude, we've got some vox pops from some of our intent listeners just to kind of get the Ramadan feel of how others are experiencing Ramadan.
So are you excited yet? I'm excited. Are you excited, Taz?
Yeah. And also don't forget our Facebook page, as she mentioned, is still up. So if you can leave some Ramadan tips, discussions, whatever you like, or you can send us an email at
YFactor@live.com.au. And just to mention, the YFactor page on Facebook is actually called the YFactor Radio Show. So we're looking forward to hearing all your comments, or if you just want to pass us on an interesting lecture or anything beneficial to our Ramadan experience, please feel free to do that. But right now, we're going to take a short break, and following that, we'll get right into the episode.
Stay listening. You're on the YFactor with Tasnim and Miran on
87.6 FM.
Ramadan, you are honored, O month of the Quran. It is Ramadan.
The YFactor.
Joining me in the studio today is an Australian expat living in the UAE, Hediah. Welcome to the YFactor.
Thank you very much.
As someone who's experienced Ramadan both here in Australia and in Sharjah or the UAE in general, what's the first thing that struck you about Ramadan there?
I think growing up in Australia and having most of my Ramadans in Australia before, you hear a lot of people say, Ramadan in the Arab world must be so much better. You must feel it a lot more. So I think I had very high expectations. And they weren't really met. It's very different to here. Here I think because we're a small community and, you have to make that extra effort, whereas over there everybody's fasting and so you just sort of go, yeah, we're fasting.
So the fact that it's a Muslim country doesn't actually make it all the more of a spiritual experience?
Not necessarily. I mean, I haven't found that so far. I think Ramadan is about being close to your family and your friends and sharing it with people. And if you don't know a lot of people, then it's sort of difficult to do that. You don't get that community feel.
Right.
I think in Australia, Ramadan was the time where you saw everyone that you didn't see for the rest of the year. You went to iftars, you saw them at Taraweeh and stuff. Whereas if you don't know a lot of people, it's kind of hard to get that feeling.
Right. But tell me, do they decorate the streets and the stores and stuff? Do you at least get a sense of Ramadan from that perspective?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, even from now, like before we left, it was still June and they've already got signs up, Ramadan in Dubai, Eid in Dubai. They sort of pump it up a lot from very early on. It's kind of similar to how they do Christmas here, where they start the advertising in around October.
Right.
So they do that, and they do decorate, and they have a lot of programs on, iftar buffets and stuff like
nice.
that.
Do they have extra sales, like you're comparing it to Christmas? Do you get that same kind of thing, or do the prices soar?
After Eid.
After
Eid, so the post-Christmas sales.
Boxing Day sales.
Yeah, but I mean, shopping before Eid, you think it's bad here at Bankstown. Try everywhere.
Wow.
It's good because the shops stay open really late in Ramadan.
Well, I guess that would be one of the benefits of Ramadan in a Muslim country. Tell us a little bit more about your Ramadan experience there.
Just the last year that we were there, a mosque opened behind our house, which is really nice, so we can walk down. We'd have our iftar and we'd walk down, do our tarawih, and then we would come back and then we would go to a mall somewhere for ice cream or something, because the shops are open till 1, 2 in the morning.
Nice.
So that's really nice, just how it sort of became our daily routine. Working hours are reduced in Ramadan.
Oh, really?
I wasn't working at the start because the schools don't go back until a bit later. So we were So we would usually, we'd sleep pretty late because if you're out till 2 a.m. But, you'd pretty much, a lot of people do that where they stay up and have suhoor and then they pray fajr and then they go to sleep and then they get up later and stuff.
Okay.
So,
just to clarify, you work as a teacher in a school there. Do you find that the fact that it's a Muslim country, the kids are a little bit more encouraged to do Ramadan by the atmosphere around them?
Surprisingly, no. I think the kids here start fasting much earlier than what I've seen over there. From what I remember from when I was a kid, around year 4, year 5, you started fasting all of Ramadan, and I think that's pretty much the case here. 4, 5, 6, around that.
Yeah. Still
primary school. But over there are kids year 8, year 9, still not fasting every day. And I don't know whether that's because it's so hot, because Ramadan now over there, it's like, 47, 45 degrees pretty much every day. And so the key is to stay inside. If you don't go outside...
Yeah, lucky everything's air-conditioned.
Yeah, but you only need 5 minutes outside to feel like you need to drink a litre of water.
Wow.
You just get... Because, it's incredible heat, in Australia, if you had that sort of heat, it'd be like a record, but over there it's just daily and it's constant for 4 months or something. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I think it varies. It depends on the kids, if they've been sort of trained with it from a young age.
So that would then depend on the home environment rather than the actual, city or the country stimulating
I would
the
say
experience.
So. And I think it's the same here. I think it's the same everywhere,
No, but that's a bit of a shame, I guess, because you'd consider a Muslim country, you might, like you were saying, you went there with high expectations. I guess if I was to go there, that would be one of my expectations, that you just have this environment that's supportive of fasting. And
well, it is. For example, in Ramadan, no one is allowed to eat in public or drink. At all.
Is that a law? Or
it's a law.
Wow.
It's a law and it is regulated. There's no food outlets open at all during the daytime except for supermarkets. And I think, it's just my opinion that I think that may be a little bit harsh, because you have people in the community who can't fast. Women who are pregnant, people who are sick, little children, and it makes it very difficult for them. And, plus all the non-Muslim expats that are there.
Yeah.
It makes it difficult for them. And I always say to my non-Muslim friends over there, I don't have an issue with you eating in front of me. But I grew up here and, we went to school, no one else was fasting. We went to uni, we went to work. You just sort of get used to it.
Is it perhaps a bit of a respect thing, like out of respect for Ramadan?
Maybe, but I think they could do it in a different way where, if they gave people the option, I'm pretty sure that most people would try really hard not to. But when it's hot and it's summer, and then most of the expats that head to that part of the world usually do it at this time of the year because the school year starts in September. And, that's what happened to us when we first went. It was we were shopping for furniture and because, you're trying to find a place to live, you're shopping for furniture, you're looking for schools and doing all of that while you're fasting, and especially for people who aren't Muslim, to not be able to even just drink some water. It
does sound a bit difficult. Speaking of work environment, especially schools and stuff, how different is it at work when you're in a majority Muslim country in terms of, do you still get a lot of questions about why do you fast, what is Ramadan, or is that aspect of Ramadan that we kind of experience here when we're at university or work or just everyday life, is that removed?
No, not at all. I think the UAE is sort of unique in that its expat community is larger than its local community. So the locals make up about 20%. Maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very, very small. And then you have expats from everywhere. So you have a lot of Muslim expats, Arabs, Egyptians, Jordanians and so on, a lot of Pakistani, Indian, Indonesian, Malaysian. So you get the Muslim side, which is really nice. But then there's a lot of non-Muslim expats who come to the country really not knowing very much at all.
Right.
So the opportunity for dawah is still there. And it kind of makes it easier because you're on your own turf. You don't feel like you have to justify as much.
You're not on the defensive.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the kind of people that leave their homes, be it Canada, Australia, England, wherever, and go to a country like that tend to be a little bit more open-minded, and they do genuinely want to know.
Right.
So, for example, one of the things that happens in Ramadan in Sharjah is one of the sheikhas, who she's from the royal family of Sharjah, from the ruling family.
Right.
Every year she runs an iftar for expats, She invites them, they eat, and then there's always a speaker that helps them to understand different things about Islam. And Yusuf Islam has been there a fair few times, which the expats love because, they're like, I'm going to see the cat, they always say that. But yeah, so that there is sort of an effort to try to help people to understand.
Okay.
Although, sometimes I've had the question because there is a lot of opulence and a lot of waste as well. There's a lot of food and, when you try to explain to people, Ramadan is about self-control and about willpower and about controlling your desire and all of that. And then, I've had so many people say to me, well, how do you sort of justify that with the incredible waste? Okay, so you deprive yourself all day, but then you gorge yourself on this massive feast at the end of the day. So
which isn't really how we're supposed to be doing it either.
Of course. But, that's just something that you have to think about. And it's interesting because it is non-Muslims that make you think about that because, there is a contradiction there. So, anyway.
Well, I guess the UAE is not really known for its moderation in anything.
Well, especially not Dubai, they like to have the biggest and the best and the tallest and the most expensive and all of that of everything, which is fine because at least it makes a name for them. But, you want to do it in the right places, that's all.
Well, I've heard that they actually cater in Muslim countries for the poorer people. They have tents with food and that kind of thing. Does that occur in Sharjah as well?
A lot of the labourers, so the companies that hire them, hold iftars for them every night to make sure that they're well fed. Like I said, their hours are reduced. Their hours are reduced in the summertime anyway. They don't work between the hours of 12 and 3 because it's too hot. It's dangerous for them. They tend to work a lot more at night time and, their companies always make sure that they're, well fed. And there's a lot of charity organisations that do the same sort of thing that you see here, like the Ramadan's bag and stuff, to make sure that all the families have what they need.
Well, I imagine that would sort of give you some of that feeling of Ramadan, the whole sharing, the feeling for others, but as opposed to here, you actually see it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The community over there tends to be very sort of segregated. It's separate. So where the labourers, and I don't mean to talk about them in a derogatory sense in any way.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the exact opposite, that this great country that has all these amazing things was built by these people.
Right.
But they tend to sort of, when they do their iftars, it's not in a place where other people would go. It's just known that this is, so you don't actually see, it happened.
Yeah.
But you don't really see it very much.
Okay, so it's still a bit like here, you're still not really seeing it, you just give and don't see where it goes, right? Is there much room for volunteering in that area though? Like, do they ever have call-outs, people we want to help out, set up these charity events for the less fortunate people to experience Ramadan? And
not so much. Not really. And that's something that I think I've really missed over here. I've been here only for a couple of weeks already. I've been to 2 fundraising dinners and even my husband said, wow, there's so much good here. There's so much opportunity to do good. When you live in a country where all the mosques are built by the government and all of that and, all these institutions are established by the government, you sort of lose out on the opportunity to contribute to that. You lose out on the hasanat that come with donating or, volunteering with that.
And you probably take it a little bit for granted as well if you grow up amongst that and it's so natural.
Yeah, absolutely.
We hear that Ramadan tends to be a bit of a TV season in the Arab countries where heaps of new soaps and series are released in that specific time period. I'm not sure if this occurs in non-Arab Muslim countries as well, but I've specifically heard about it in the Arab countries. So, many people in Australia who have satellite TV and access to these channels tend to spend their Ramadans also in front of the TV screen, but I imagine it might be a little bit more intense in the Arab countries.
Yeah, it does tend to be a bit like that. But again, it's one of those things where you always have the choice. It's your choice whether you're going to make Ramadan about TV or about ibadah. And from what I've seen, the mosques that I've been to, they're always jam-packed with men and women. So I know there are plenty of people who are making the choice to make it about ibadah. And then, you're going to get the people that just want to make it about food and TV. May Allah guide us all. We're all on the path somewhere and we'll get there.
Yeah. I've seen a few people already set out their timetables with, I'm going to watch this and then this and this at different times of the day. And it's kind of like, I don't really think that's what Ramadan's about. Yeah.
Well, no. And I think here we're sort of like, as a Muslim community, I think we're more educated about that, that we understand that this is a valuable month where every minute counts, the amount of rewards that you can get, the benefits that you can gain from trying to train yourself and stuff. But I think in the Arab world, it's very much because everybody does it, you just, again, take it for granted. One thing that moving overseas has taught me is to value the life that we have in Australia. Like, if I could give any advice to anyone who lives here, I would say, honestly, you have it good here. Value what you have here, because I feel like, if you're a practicing Muslim in Australia, every day you wake up, you make that choice to practice, to go against the flow of the rest of the country and practice. And, despite all the criticism and maybe discrimination and negative media and all that, you still choose to do that. And I think there's immense reward in that. Whereas when you live in a country where, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this. I love that I can walk around in my hijab over there and no one looks twice because you're just like everybody else. But you lose out on that reward, on that patience and endurance that you have here.
SubhanAllah, it's so ironic.
It is. It is, though. It is ironic. Like I found personally that my iman is higher here when I'm here than it is when I'm over there. Because over there, everyone's fasting, yeah. You fast, you wear hijab, everyone's doing it. It's not as difficult.
Does it become a bit of a cultural thing rather than a religious?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And then you struggle with that, and then it makes that difficult to explain to non-Muslims because, you're trying to say, okay, like this aspect of what's happening, what you see around you is not Islam, it's culture. And then for them it's very confusing.
Yeah, how do you differentiate? Yeah.
So... But, look, the Prophet ﷺ said that towards the end of time, holding on to your deen would be like holding on to a hot coal. And I think it's true anywhere in the world. It's a struggle wherever you are.
Yeah.
People think that if you live in an Arab country or a Muslim country, it's easier, but it's not. It's the kids, especially, like, because I'm a teacher and I see this, I see the kids, they struggle with the same things over there as they do over here. Maybe not to the same extent, but it's the same.
I guess essentially... It's a struggle with yourself first and foremost before it is with society.
Yeah, very much so.
You mentioned that the mosques, there were a lot of women who actually attend there as well. Do you feel that it's sister-friendly there? Like
very much so.
A lot of space for the women, they're encouraged to go?
I think the UAE, compared to some other Arab countries, is very... focused on females. The women over there are treated with a lot of respect. There's a lot of women in a lot of important positions. Every single mosque has a women's area, every single one.
Okay.
In terms of schooling for girls, in terms of education for girls, there's a lot of women's only universities so that they don't miss out if their parents don't want them to go to places where there's mixing. I really think that they really take care of their women.
Well, that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, because I used to get really frustrated here, some places that you go, musallas, there's nowhere for women to pray. And it's like, if anything, we're the ones, because the men should be able to pray wherever, but we're the ones who sort of need a little bit of, sutra, you know. And it's like, well, we need to pray too, sort of thing. So that used to frustrate me a bit here. But over there, mashallah, one of the best things about it is wherever you are, in all of the malls, the shopping centres, there's mosques everywhere. All the little service stations, if you're driving between Emirate to Emirate, have a little mosque, so alhamdulillah.
So you have no excuse whether travelling or at home or...
None.
Wow.
None, alhamdulillah.
Well, it's good that it's catered for. And you said that the government funds its mosques as well, so...
there are the people who will say, okay, I have this land, I'm going to donate it, I'm going to build a mosque on it. But
essentially it's not a struggle to build mosques there.
No.
So tell us, is there anything else that strikes you as very different about Ramadan in the UAE than in Australia?
Just mainly the mosques everywhere, especially in the last 10 days, they do their salat al-tahajjud or the night prayers, they do them loudly on the microphones. Because they want people to come, which is fine if you're Muslim, but if you're not, I've had a few comments from a few non-Muslim expats over there who are just like, oh, I can't wait till these 10 days are over so I can actually go back to sleep, But then again, you get I have a lot of, it's interesting. The school that I work at, it's an Australian school, and I don't think I've ever mixed with as many Australian Aussies as much as I have in this place because they're all from Victoria.
Countryside, Geelong.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you're from Sydney, we won't hold it against you sort of thing. But, a lot of them live in areas where there's a mosque close by and they love it. They love the morning one. They love the Fajr Adhan.
Really? It doesn't disturb them?
Well, you get all sorts, but so many I've spoken to say that they just find it really soothing. And they when they hear it in the morning, they feel like it'll be a good day sort of thing. So alhamdulillah,
that's nice.
But yeah, that's just That's probably the difference. Here you can't really do the whole loudspeaker thing too much.
Does it actually attract more people to the mosques?
I think it does because, sometimes you go, you know what, I'm awake, I may as well go down.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder.
And I guess if mosques are sort of walking distance, you won't get the chance to feel lazy even if you were.
Yeah. But I mean, even with the heat, you can still walk it. It's only like a 2-3 minute walk. You feel like it's not worth getting in the car and stuff, although a lot of people do. But,
as long as they get there,
as long as they
doesn't
get there,
matter.
That's right.
While we have you here and before you jet back to the UAE, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Eid experience? I know we're a few weeks early for that, in the beginning of Ramadan here, but tell us a little bit about Eid.
They have Eid musallas sort of spread out over the city, just open spaces where people, go to pray. A lot of the time it's only the men really that go to that. We usually just go to the mosque that's behind our house and... They have water and sweets and stuff for the kids. And then, throughout the day, the best thing about the UAE is that shops never, ever, ever, ever close. Nothing closes.
Not even on Eid. They don't have like a public holiday thing.
Never. Everything's always open, and because of the heat, they have to cater for a lot of indoor activities. So at Eid, all the malls have incredible amounts of activities for kids. There's shows and there's parades and competitions and fireworks everywhere you go.
Wow.
To the point that here when there's fireworks, everyone gets excited, but over there you just sort of go, oh yeah, fireworks, because it's just everywhere.
It's an everyday thing.
Yeah. So yeah, alhamdulillah, like you get that. You get that feeling, and then if you go shopping the night before Eid, it's just insane. It's chaos, kind of like the night before Christmas. Yeah, the kids really enjoy it. It's still, I think, not as good as what we have here.
Really?
But I think it's just because of the people. When you know a lot of people and you go to Salat al-Eid and you see everyone and it's that feeling. You get up early and. Whether you go to the park or the mosque, wherever, you just see the people that and that's who you celebrate with. But when you don't know a lot of people, you can have the best activities, the best fireworks in the world, but if you don't really have someone to share it with, it sort of loses its meaning a bit.
It's true.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, it's all good.
You were saying they have open space, like they actually cater for those who want to pray outside because,
all the Eid musallas are outdoor ones.
All right, so no one prays inside a mosque.
No, people pray inside, like we pray inside, but if you want to go outside, and, like the Prophet ﷺ said, that everybody should go, women, everyone, so that everybody can go. They do have those all over the place, but they just don't necessarily say, okay, you can only pray there.
How quickly they must go through those prayers if it's that hot, though.
Yeah. Yeah, their khutbahs, even the Jummahs, don't tend to be as long as they are here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a general thing or just on Eid?
No, all the time, even
Jummah.
Time.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't have as much to say, I suppose.
Perhaps. Okay, Hediah, so in concluding this interview, and it's been great chatting about the different experiences, but do you have any, parting advice or messages for those doing Ramadan here in Australia, having had the experience of both?
Only like what I said before is just value what you have. Get out there, go to the different iftars, support the different universities that are doing these things and, all the different organisations. It's a perfect time to catch up with people, with, to do Salat al-Rahim and all of that. Value being with your family and with your friends and the people who you care about at this time. And, and just to say that we do really have it very good here. And that we should value that and stop whining. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us here at the YFactor today, Hediah. And I hope the rest of your Ramadan is filled with blessings and forgiveness and mercy, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. You too.
The YFactor. Oh Ramadan, you are honored, oh month of the Quran. It is Ramadan. The YFactor.
That was a very insightful outlook on how people around the world experience Ramadan. But to bring you back to reality, also known as Australia, we did some vox pops with some young people about their Ramadan experiences and what Ramadan means to them. So listen in.
What's your favourite thing about Ramadan?
The gathering.
Spending more time with my family.
I appreciate what Allah has given us. The food.
Reading Quran.
Getting more hasanat.
Staying up nights like you.
What are your 3 goals for Ramadan?
Gonna try to do i'tikaf in the mosque.
Praying more and by reading more Quran.
To do Qiyam al-Layl.
Gonna try to read the whole Quran.
To fast and to worship.
Gonna try to stop watching TV.
Pray and to read Quran.
Ramadan! The YFactor.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Baba Ali and you're listening to 87.6 The YFactor. This is the number one Muslim radio station, so if you're not listening to this, what are you listening to?
Okay, Tasnim, I think this brings us to the last segment of today's episode, but certainly one of the most important ones.
Because we have a very important guest with us today.
Sr Sawsan, welcome to the YFactor.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum assalam. Now, we're going to be speaking today, inshallah, about general Ramadan tips on how to make the most of Ramadan and just, put a bit more of a religious perspective on today's episode.
So to start off, can you please give us 5 tips on how to make the most out of this Ramadan to make it the best Ramadan we've ever had in our life?
Inshallah. First of all, we understand that Ramadan is all about the taqwa, which is the piety and fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in secret. Because you cannot show off in this kind of worshipping, which is the fasting. Now, we learn at-taqwa, which teaches us to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have self-control over our eating and drinking, which is halal for us. That will enable us to become stronger in controlling ourselves against our desires and temptations in life. Now, to make the best out of Ramadan is to control, first of all, our tongue. It's not enough just to stop eating and drinking. It is very important to learn good manners, self-control. If someone shouts at you or, for instance, have a fight with you, you have to say, I'm fasting. Remind yourself that you are in a worship the whole day and the whole night. Your behavior should always reflect kindness and forgiveness, because this is the ultimate goal from the month of Ramadan. You are looking for forgiveness. Now, second of all, you should be really proud to practice Ramadan in front of the believers and the disbelievers. Don't be shy if you're at uni to show that you're fasting and you need a break just to go out, for instance, do the Maghreb prayer and break your fast. I used to do my master's in UNSW, and I used to take just 5 minutes from the lab, although it was a 3 hours continuous lab, just to buy a muffin or drink some coffee, do the prayer even behind the theater or on the lawn. Don't be afraid to show it, and try as much as possible to do your 5 obligatory prayers on time. This is where you can actually spot your weakness. If you don't do the obligatory prayers on time during the rest of the year, in Ramadan you can start stopping these bad habits, because you can have more self-control.
I think our lecturers tend to be understanding.
Yes,
and
they are very
employers.
cooperative. Very, very cooperative, actually. Out of my own experience, from work, from uni, they are very cooperative. They admire our self-control.
Yeah. I just wanted to draw back to something you mentioned earlier, that it's self-control not just during the day when you're fasting, but also at night. So I think a lot of people hold off on giving into certain temptations while they're actually abstaining from food and water. But once that adhan goes off, it's like, oh yeah, it's free for all.
Yeah, it's celebration time.
Exactly.
Eating and having fun. This is not the aim of Ramadan. Ramadan is just like a boot camp. It's a training course for the rest of the year. It enables you to control yourself and come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have more taqwa, and trying to be the righteous person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. At home, actually, you are preferred to go to the mosque, to the masjid, do the Taraweeh prayer in Jama'ah. It's very important, actually, because there many people learn their mistakes in practicing the prayer. I've seen many ladies who have been praying for 40 years and they're doing a mistake. If they didn't pray in Jama'ah, no one will actually advise them how to correct it, and they appreciate it. So for you, as a young Muslim, you can be really helpful if you know how to pray well, to advise others. And you will encourage other young people also if you ask your friends to join you in Salat al-Taraweeh.
Yeah.
And you will have more energy, actually, to do extra prayers at night. This is the aim of the night. It's a waste, actually, to spend the night chatting, playing cards or watching TV.
That's right.
That's the worst that you can do, because you're destroying all the patience that you've done during the morning by going back to your old bad habits.
That's right. And I think also with the Taraweeh issue, you actually feel it when you're around people. Like, humans are social animals. Like, when you're around a lot of humans and you're doing exactly the same thing, you feel a lot better from inside.
And subhanAllah, Ramadan tends to be a very social month. Like, that's when you see the people you don't normally see throughout the year. And if you use that social gathering to help you boost your religious experience of Ramadan, whether by going together to the mosque or whatever, I think that's a really strong support network that you might not have had throughout the year.
Exactly. Although I don't agree with the expression that we are social animals, no. Actually, I believe that it's the best time where you see people you've never seen, and you will go into conversations regarding their problems. You will be active in the society. You will see the weakness. You can advise others and show them how cooperative the society is. And you can learn from others a lot, actually, having good new relationships. The best relationships you gain is the ones from the masjid. The third point, I believe, is reading the Quran. It is the most important thing during Ramadan. It is obligatory for Muslims, actually, to learn the Arabic alphabet, at least to be able to read the Quran properly. Not necessarily reading it in an Arabic way. At least you can read directly from the Quran without support. So it's the best time for you to learn reading the Quran. If you can't listen to the Quran the whole day, it will actually help you avoid listening to music. You can actually go to the mosque or go to any group or have a friend, spend some time to learn with them and to revise the Quran.
If someone doesn't actually speak Arabic and they don't have time in Ramadan to, for example, learn the alphabet, as you said, is it okay for them to just read the translation or listen to the Arabic? Is that good enough?
It's preferable, actually, to listen to the Quran recitation and follow up in the mushaf rather
with the translation.
Reading the translation on their own pace would be better. But reading the translation or the transliteration is not sufficient during Ramadan. You have to listen to the Quran itself.
So recite it properly in Arabic fluently?
Not necessarily, just listen to it and follow up with your eyes, with your fingertips, trying to follow the verses in the Quran. As much as possible, try to learn the Quran during Ramadan. This is the best time for you. Number 4, Ramadan is the month of generosity. So Muhammad ﷺ was known to be the most generous man. But in Ramadan, his companions described him as described his generosity as if he was like the running wind. Now, Muhammad ﷺ was a very giving man, and he taught us that in Ramadan we have to give more and more charity. Especially nowadays, we know about the famine in East Africa and other problems around the world. Muslims are in need, and you learn to be patient and feel with the poor people when you are fasting in Ramadan. So you need now to give for them.
That's right.
As much as possible, try to pay charity. If you don't have enough money, for instance, if you're a student or for any reason, try to help those who collect money to send for the poor countries and give them at least one meal during Ramadan. Because if you help someone to eat or break their fast during Ramadan, you will get the reward exactly as if you have fasted.
Oh, nice. Extra fasting. More than the 30.
And I think it's good because we feel the empathy for them during the day, but then when we have our feasts, what are they doing? I know that's the problem. So inshallah, by giving charity, you're doing something about it.
It's a constant
action.
reminder.
That's right. That's right.
And actually, the rewards are multiplied up to 700 and more
during Ramadan
for any good deeds that you do. But for the fasting, the reward is beyond our imagination, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward for multiplied by 10 up to 700 and more. Only fasting, it is left to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala on Judgment Day to reward us. Now during Ramadan we tend to prevent ourselves from drinking and eating. As we said, we can also spot our weakness. People are encouraged during Ramadan to stop smoking and any kind of addiction, because the addiction will distract you from the correct path of Islam. Now, we know that smoking is haram. It is very important to avoid it during the rest of the year, not only in Ramadan. So, during Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the ability to self-correct your habits, because the shaitan has less influence on you. You're fasting and you're restraining his ability to whisper for you. Yet he tries. Most probably, the mistakes you do during the year, if it is from the shaitan whispering, will disappear in Ramadan. But what is self-nagging, your own desires, it will continue. So this is where, you know, if you, for instance, postpone the obligatory prayer, you don't do it on time, even in Ramadan, that means it's not related to the Satan for sure.
So you can't blame it on shaitan.
No, you can't. It's yours.
So you've got these 29 days to identify what you're doing that's wrong and what the shaitan sort of eggs you on to do.
Yes, and you will be stronger to face your problems and self-correct.
Inshallah. One very commonly asked question amongst the girls, and I know that you give lessons to young girls, high school aged and whatnot, it's about whether you publicize the fact that you're not fasting, you're sick or you have your monthly period or whatever.
For any reason.
So is that Islamically incorrect, or is it all right, since you're not fasting anyway, to sort of just not make a secret of it?
Well, it is absolutely known that you should not show publicly that you're not fasting during Ramadan. Because Ramadan is a month of fasting and everyone knows about it. The Muslims and the non-Muslims, they all know that Ramadan, you prevent yourself from eating and drinking. Now, even if you have for any excuse, you're breaking your fast, even at home, try as much as possible not to show it. First of all, to show respect for the month of Ramadan and for your own dignity, not to publicly show that you have a problem. Because Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ said, إِذَا بُلِيتُمْ فَاسْتَتِرُوا. If you have a problem, don't show it. Let's say that you're publicly, and in this country some people are non-Muslims, they will not come and approach you if they see you eating during Ramadan. They will not ask for the excuse that you have. They will just assume or conclude that you don't follow your religion correctly, or you don't care about it, or you're trying to show that you are blending with the community and not caring about so-called tradition. So you are sending the wrong message about Islam.
Right.
And you are encouraging others, such as young Muslims, to break their fast because they will become weak in controlling themselves. Not many people will come and ask you for the reasons. And we consider the monthly issues for women as something private, which she should actually, out of dignity, not show it. Hide it as much as possible and show the respect for the month of Ramadan.
To conclude, are there any recommended dua that we should be making during Ramadan?
Yeah, well, Muhammad SAW recommended the dua of Allahumma annaka afuun kareemun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. It is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the all generous and the all forgiving, to bestow His forgiveness over us. Because this is the best thing that you can gain from Shahr Ramadan. Ramadan is all about mercy, forgiveness and good deeds. So Jibreel alayhi salam visited Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, the loser is the one who approaches Ramadan and goes out from Ramadan without being forgiven. And Muhammad alayhi wasallam said, Ameen. Because it's the month of forgiveness. The best dua to say is, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our sins. And this is where you start to control yourself not to commit sins after Ramadan. It's not just during Ramadan. Some people actually pray during Ramadan and stop praying afterwards. So you didn't gain much from your training course of Ramadan.
Okay.
And I hope, inshallah, Allah will make us all strong enough to continue the motivation of good deeds that we gain in Ramadan.
Ameen, inshallah. Well, thank you very, very much for coming into the studio today. And inshallah, that was sound advice, and I hope that our listeners all benefited from that.
Jazakallah khair once again for coming in, and may Allah reward you.
The Y Factor.
Don't weaken your iman. Don't weaken your iman. Oh, you who believe, give thanks to Allah for the month of Ramadan. Month of Ramadan.
So that brings us to the end of the Ramadan episode, our first Ramadan episode.
We hope that it was of benefit to you, and we're just going to give you a quick reminder of our email, yfactor@live.com.au.
And as mentioned, if you have any Ramadan tips, any advice, any suggestions, do post it on our Facebook page for the benefit of others, inshallah.
Which is the YFactor radio show. That's pretty much it from the two of us. So from Tasnim and Miran and the rest of the YFactor team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.